What up? What up? Welcome back to another episode of the I AFYL Podcast. Look, seasons come and seasons go. How do you manage change? Or how to manage change? Recently was at the funeral of a funeral, I would call it celebration. I was at a celebration of one of my best friends. I know he had a lot of best friends, Peter Campbell. Best friend's funeral, memorial / celebration. It was an amazing time. And one of the words that I use in talking about my friend was season. And so today, as I was in the gym and I was thinking about the season, and I was thinking about, well, what season am I in? What's happening right now? Things are changing at a pace that sometimes it's hard to manage. Today, we're going to talk and just kind of dive into the seasons of change and, good changes, bad changes, inevitable changes, and one of the biggest changes that we can ever experience. And usually that comes with a lot of fear. And so let's get into what these seasons are all about and how we can manage them in a better way. Now, before we do that, I just want to share with you a quick introduction about what it is we're doing here at this podcast. That was the wrong one. Sorry about that.
Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
Wow and wow. Look, seasons come and seasons go. How do you manage change? So just last night, I get a message from a good friend of the family, and she says, hey, your mom has to go to the hospital. Now, here's what's interesting about my mom going to the hospital. My mom was rushed to the hospital September the 1st, wound up having to get surgery, found out she had stage 3 cancer in her uterus. They pull it all out. My mom didn't want to go through chemo, radiation. And so she gets out 6 weeks and she's quote unquote supposedly doing something to manage it. And she really wasn't doing anything. What season are we in? Now, here's what's interesting about this whole situation with my mom is that my mom is a nurse. My mom has been in healthcare. My mom has been a person who's paid attention to her health. She just paid attention. She did different things. And she's in a season where it's almost like she's not paying attention. She's in a season where she's almost just like, what me and my brother would call she's hoping, but she's not actually doing what it takes to manage the change of the season that she's in. See, when we're talking about, seasons, one day you can be doing great. One day all things are working out for your good until one day they're not. And then it's like, well, what do I do now? Well, not me, but she just got a notice that she has cancer. And so typically it's almost like, well, what do you do? Like if you didn't plan, if you wasn't thinking, I'm going to respond to the change in such a way or in a specific way, then what happens is you just kind of like a deer in the headlights. Mom hadn't been managing this change at all. And so when we get the message yesterday and they're like, oh, she's got to go to the hospital. She's back in the hospital this morning. Thank God she's in the hospital. Thank God she's still alive. Like that's how I'm looking at it. I'm thanking God that we still have some time. Now, I don't know how much time, but I'm thanking God we still have some time. And I believe she wants more time. But here's the thing. We are in a new season. right? Some, a lot of my friends have lost parents already. So I'm in a season that they've already gone through. Both parents right now are not doing well physically. Both of my parents. But here's the thing, it's kind of like, well, what do you do? I was just telling Jenny, my wife, just last night, I was just like, well, what do I do now? Because there's the problem that we're dealing with, that season that we've been forced into. I didn't want to go in there, but it's taking me in. But then there's the other season, the season when God's like, hey man, you've got potential. There's something in you that has to come out. When we were at my friend Pete's celebration on Sunday, and both me and my brother spoke, and my brother Reggie, I mean, he's an accomplished poet. He's an accomplished writer. Like, he doesn't realize how good he is, but he's accomplished. He's good. And so he had this poem, and he said this poem, and it just like blew everybody away. Like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. But we were talking, and I realized there's a season that we have to go in together. And because in a prior season, he and I used to do some major things on the basketball court together. And when it got to the point when we played together, man, it was hard for people to beat us. We would have a team and we would just be hitting from all sides. And we had a season where it was like we played off of each other. He was my leader, to be honest. He led me. But we're going into a different season. And the season now is like, well, there's a change that we have to make in our life so that we can now fulfill the real potential and the real purposes for our life. But here's the thing. There's another season happening right now. The season of a dramatic change. See, dramatic changes come kind of, and that's actually a definition of transformation: sudden dramatic change. Transformation happens fast. Well, I'm not going to say it happens fast, but when it's actually done, it looks like it happened fast. See, when the caterpillar was coming into himself as a butterfly, it didn't happen fast. But when it happened, it seemed like it was overnight. One day it was walking on all fours, or they got more than 4 legs. And then one day it's flying in the air with 2 wings. It's a new season. See, going into a season, especially one where a dramatic change is on the horizon, looks scary. I've got 2 seasons. I've got 2 seasons running concurrently. The season of my purpose and potential, and then the season of a dramatic change, a season that I know is coming, which is you're going to lose your parents. And be honest. You're going to lose your parents. You're going to lose loved ones. You don't know when. You don't know who. You don't know why. You don't know where. You just know that it's going to happen, and it's happening concurrently. So whenever a season is showing up, it's almost like you got to look and say, I see it now. But then here's the question: how do you manage change? How do you do that? How do you manage concurrent seasons happening at the same time? Yeshua has a lot of great statements in the Bible. And one of the statements that he made was this. It was interesting because guys excited about the kingdom, and he's just like, I want to follow you. And Yeshua was just like, yes, follow me. Let's go, bro. And he says, well, let me go bury my father, my mother. Somebody just died. I got to go home. I got to take care of that. And this is painful. He says, well, let the dead bury their dead, but you go and preach the good news of the kingdom. I read this many years ago when I was learning about the kingdom and looking to understand these parables, these riddles that Christ would say. And you're like, huh? But then he said another one. It was a similar one. The guy's like, let's go. And, I've got to go back. And he says, well, no one can look forward looking backward. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, like Let the dead bury the dead. Wait a second, but that's real. I got to go back. I got to handle this business. But then he's like, well, no. You can't be looking back while trying to go forward. You've got to go forward, especially when you're going to fulfill the purpose that I'm calling you to. Seasons come, seasons go. How do you manage change that's inevitable? So I was talking to Jenny last night, and I was like, well, I'm just trying to understand where I'm at. And when I got on the phone with my brother Reggie last night, and we were talking, and here's what I realized. I said, wait a second. Yeah, I know that there's this season right here in front of me where my parents are going through things that are inevitable. But then there's the season where we can get on the same team and we can dominate. And the calling right there is, think about if you had a calling on your life, but you put it on hold. What do you think about this? Well, yeah, you could be like, well, I got to go take care of my mom. I got to go take care of my dad. I got to go do this thing because I can't do that right now because I got to go do this. I love it so much. But that's when I said, well, if the creator of the universe sent you a message and say, hey, I got a special job for you, I want you to think about this. Or better yet, let me bring it all the way home. If somebody that you looked up to that's super successful, I'm not going to name any names. I just want you to put it in there. Maybe they're a super billionaire, millionaire, they are very influential, entertain, whatever kind of person you look up to. And if they called you and said, hey, I got a job for you. I've got something specific that I see that you can do for me that I need done now. I need you to be able to do it now for me. And you told them, no, I can't do it. I got to go do this other thing. It's like, no, but I need you now. This thing is going to change the world. This thing is going to change people's lives. This thing is going to do something that's never been done on the planet. And you're telling me you can't do it? This is a hard teaching, because when Christ is talking to these people and he's telling them, don't go back home. One day I explained this, and I explained it. I can't remember who I explained it to. Or I might have done the podcast years ago, because I studied that for a while, and I explained it like this. I says, wow, here's the thing. It's not that you can't go home. Not that you can't go home. What if there's people who are already at home? What if there's others already helping out? And you now have this ability to go and produce something that's never been produced that would help everybody. Are we going to give up on that? Are we going to say no? See, one of the things that I've learned from my mentor, Dr. Miles, when he was breaking this down in one of his sermons years ago, this is one of the first sermons I listened to, he says, everything in life will change. And one of my first sermons that I did back in 2017 was on this very topic. Your body will change. It's inevitable. As you get older, your body will change. Now, here's the thing. It's going to change good or bad. But it's going to change. Your relationships will change. How are they going to change? They're going to get better or worse, right? You're going to get more relationships. You're going to get less relationships, but they're going to change. Your spirituality may change. These things are inevitable. When when I say your spirituality, meaning it's going to go deeper, you're going to learn something new, but it's inevitable that things are going to change. Literally, the seasons, the warmness, the coldness, that's going to change over and over. We're going to get winter, we're going to get summer, we're going to get spring, we're going to get fall. It's going to happen like clockwork, and it's going to happen over and over again. Everything around us will change. But one of the things that he said about people who lead, people who are moving towards their potential, people who are moving towards their purposes. They will do one thing that most people won't do. As all these changes are happening, right? Get all these changes happening. Your body changing, your relationship changing, your kids are changing, right? Everything is changing. Your spirituality is changing. The area that you're living in is changing. He says the one thing is for leaders, people who are moving toward their purpose and their potential. Here's what they do. They initiate change. What does that mean when you initiate change? It means that you design the change. You say, well, you know what? If change is going to happen, I'm not going to just allow change to change me. I'm not just going to allow change to happen. It's kind of like, if you said to yourself, I want to have the body of my dreams. Great. Here's how you have the body of your dreams. You initiate it. Because if you don't initiate the actual change that you desire, then the change is going to happen no matter what. And usually, especially when it comes on body, it's going to get a little extra weight here and there, here and there, here and there. And all of a sudden, the body has changed. We're talking about so many things can change, but we have to look at it and say, you know what? I see the change that I would like to have. And I'm going to manage for that change. So as I look to my left and I see the inevitable. I know my dad is 83 and my mom is 80. They're both dealing with some major life issues. Am I supposed to allow that to take me away from the purpose which the creator of this universe has penciled me in for? Last thing, as Reggie and I were talking last night, and we were breaking down with each other, like one of the biggest struggles that people have when it comes to, like, it's kind of like when you're called into the game. I want you to think about something. When you get called into the game, the question is, when you get in there, it's going to show what you've been doing. It's going to show whether or not you've been practicing or not. It's going to show whether or not you've been working on it or not. It's going to show whether or not, you've been doing the stuff that you were talking about doing. So when the time comes and you get called into the game, like right now, many of us are being called into the game. The game of life. That's what I'm talking about. You're being called in because the seasons come and seasons go. So we've seen the season of my good friend Peter Campbell. But the one thing he left us with was peace. And I said it took the season of his life, 53 plus years, in order for me to learn that his life was to represent peace for me. I don't know about you. I don't know about anyone else, but his life was to represent me. Because here's the thing, you should not be afraid of the most inedible change in front of you. See, when he got the stage 4 cancer diagnosis, he just said, you know what? I'm going to live it out. I'm going to live my faith from now on. Not that he never did, but he just lived it out. He says, you know what? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to die anyway. I don't know when I'm going to die. Now, I've got a diagnosis that says that it's closer than I think or realize, but I'm going to live every single day. And here's what he did. He had already practiced. He practiced enough that when it was time to go in the game, it looked like he was a seasoned pro. He was seasoned. It's kind of like he would be talking to people and they would be encouraging him, and then he's encouraging them. He says, man, let me pray for you. Let me empower you. This is exactly what Yeshua did to the disciples. He, instead of, just giving them something, he says, I'm going to pray that you guys have the strength and the power to get through what is coming. Because one season comes and it's all good. The other season comes and it's not so good. Does that mean you're still not going to win. No, what that means is that it's just a new season. It's a new day. It's a fresh anointing coming my way, a season of power, a season of prosperity. It's a new season coming to me. See, when a season comes and it's right in front of you, cancer shows up. I like a number of people that I've known, like in the past few weeks, month, has passed away from cancer, right? I got a family, my mom right now, stage 3 cancer diagnosis. What does that mean? It just means that death is at the door. That means a season is going to close and a season is going to open. Now, here's the thing. I'm very cognizant, and when my brother Willie Moore Jr. was killed in 2013, one of the gifts that I got in that season was I no longer had to be afraid of death. See, there's a season that comes in your life. And one of the seasons that comes is death. Death always shows up. But here's the thing. As a believer, do you know? Do you know that you're going to die? I know the answer is yes. I know that I'm going to die. I know that my parents are going to die. I know that my brothers are going to die. I know that everybody around me is going to die at some point. Why would I be afraid? So in that season, when my brother was killed, terrible season, one of the worst, get the call, he's dead, like literally, like he's shot and he's going to die today. That was the moment that we were pulled into. Here's the thing. When the season comes, you got to know when to pull out the gift. I pulled out a gift that day. And the gift was, you no longer have to be afraid. But the same thing happened as my good friend Peter passes away. You no longer have to be afraid. You can be at peace even in the midst of one of the biggest changes of your life. So how do you manage change? If we don't take anything away, this is what we take away. You initiate it. And if you can't initiate it because it pulled you in, pull out the gift. Pull out the gift of that change immediately, and do not allow the change to change you in a way where you don't have peace, and you cannot fulfill your potential and the purpose for your life. That's how you manage change, because the season is going to come and the season's going to go. Let's do it together. Guys, I want to thank you for another episode. Come and listen to another episode of the I AFYL Life Podcast. Jamie with I AFYL Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
This has been the Account for Your Life Podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.